So welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And I am, joined by the gorgeous Jenny McCarthy and her gorgeous husband, Donnie Wahlberg. And I mean, they can't keep their hands off each other. It's like looking at me and Sergio, frankly.
Totally.
And you've just reached this is your 10-year anniversary, and I've got you here, right? When was that?
That was it last? No, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, 1 month ago, actually.
It was 1 month ago.
1 month ago.
But I love how you guys, don't mind doing PDA. Like, you guys are all about showing your love. You guys love being with each other all the time. And that's what we love. And I love, it's few and far between now when we see couples that actually truly love each other and want to be with each other. And when we find people like that, we're always like, oh my God, there's more of us out there.
Yeah, we're not a successful couple that hates on couples. We want to see other successful couples, and we gravitate toward them because we're rooting for love constantly, including rooting for our love.
You know what? That's very interesting because, I sent my husband, because he always wants to be with me, on a play date. I call it a play date the other day with a whole load of guys, and he went to a poker game. He called me back and he goes, I don't like my play date. None of them like their wives. They're all so happy to be here. They're going, and he goes, and I have nothing to say. They're going, oh, I hate, at least we've got an hour off. And he's going, yeah. And he goes, actually, I just want to go home. And, so it's so nice to meet people like yourselves that actually just want to be together, because it is actually, as a man, some reason the society has beaten it into men that this is like, it's demasculating to want to be with your wife. It's not, the thing to do, that you're meant to want to be with the boys, and you're meant to want to leave the wife at home with the kids while you go out and, play golf.
Exactly. Why don't you speak up?
No, I think first things first, Jenny supports me, going out and golfing with my friends and stuff like that. But we support each other in that way. So in other words, we feel the same way your husband does. Oh, I do. So
I love calling it a play date.
Yeah,
I don't like my play date.
Yeah, she'll go out with her girlfriends and be like, oh my God, I just want to come home and watch TV with you. I just want to come home and hang out with you. And I'll be the same way. There are times, though, when we know that, doing other things, it's healthy. Like I'll say, I don't know if I should golf today. I'm going to miss you. I want to hang out. And she'll say, no, go, because I know you're going to have such a good time when you come home. I'm going to get all that joy and love that you bring home. And so it's, I think one of the biggest mistakes, as you mentioned, with couples and with society, it's not only this part about, how husbands and wives are with each other. PDA isn't always encouraged, and, putting your spouse first. Yes, it can be seen like, well, what are they doing? Why does she follow him around? She should have her own career, or vice versa. Why is he putting someone, like, why am I hanging out with her during her press day? Because I love hanging out with my wife. But one of the other things I think society discourages is work on the relationship.
Yeah.
We both have had long careers. There are so many people who are passionate about so many things. Their job, they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be a professional athlete or a singer or whatever it is that they put their time into. Models, like building models, literally. People have Lego collection, whatever it is. When you're passionate about something, you work really hard at it. But we have this misconception that relationships shouldn't require work. But if I love her more than any human on the planet and she loves me the same, and we're passionate about each other, then this relationship should require the most work and attention and care. Not work that it should be difficult, but work that you got to put in the time to nurture the relationship. You have to put in the quality time with each other. You have to talk through situations, learn about each other, learn about ourselves, and say, what is it about me that's reacting poorly to something that she might have said that she didn't mean anything by, but I took it a certain way. Like, the amount of work we put into our relationship, we think is normal for something that we love. But oftentimes in society, people say relationships shouldn't be work. Why not? If you love it, you should want to work at it.
I'm so behind you on that. And people, unfortunately, with Instagram and TV and pop culture, they think it's just that it's so interchangeable, and people don't try and work at it and don't want to. And that's what I was going to ask you both, actually, especially you, because having two such giant careers, which must have pulled you apart for quite some time. If you're working on different shows or you're traveling, and how on earth do you keep it? Because women slide into DMs. I mean, they slide into my husband's DMs. I'm sure they slid into yours all the time. How do you draw a line when you're on the road and you're like, away from each other? Because distance does, draw people apart. It's very, very hard when you have two people that have big careers like yourselves.
I'll go first and then you can go.
Sure.
I really believe that if you don't establish a good foundation in the beginning of the relationship and carry that foundation through, then those DMs might take you somewhere else. We went into this relationship so serious about making it work because we deeply loved each other that we even got into therapy, couples therapy, before we even had a problem. I mean, that's how specifically we're in, like, let's get a tool, like a tool, what is it called? Tool.
Wait, did you do that because in your past relationships it had gone, you didn't have the tools to make it work? Like, what made you suddenly, like, that's quite not a normal thing to do.
It's not a normal thing to do, because usually when people get into therapy, it's already too late. You have so many resentments that you can't see the light anymore. Either one of them is completely over with it, or the other one is just kind of checked out. So I said, I don't want to mess this up. I felt it in my soul. He was the one, but I also know we're older. We both met in our 40s, and I know that he comes with luggage, I come with mine. And once you get into a relationship, you're triggered by things from the past that you're unconsciously pulling into your relationship now. Like, I mean, we have such great examples, and we go deep, of things that we brought into a past relationship and went, oh my God, it has nothing to do with you. I'm thinking you're so-and-so, subconsciously, unconsciously, and bringing it into this relationship. And it was fascinating. So I wanted to know in couples therapy, before we even got into fights, are you a silent...
Which we didn't do, by the way. We didn't get into the fights. It wasn't like before we had problems. We did this preemptively to avoid the problems that could come with relationships. But fortunately, we've done a good job of navigating any potential problems. So we avoid them like icebergs. We're good at it.
And then I'll let you continue. But I wanted to say, like, someone is always the want to talk it out right now person, and the other person is I need space, or the silent treatment person. So I didn't know, going into getting into a deeper level of our relationship, which one are we? Like, I know which one I was, but how do we have the tools to bring us together so one doesn't run away and the other one doesn't follow each room? Let's talk about it. And that's what was so great about doing, like, pre-therapy, couples therapy, because we decided, okay, that's what you do, this is what I do. We asked the therapist, what are some tools that will bring us together so those, silent treatments don't last 3 days, or one of us checking into a hotel. But what about you? What would you say?
Well, there's so many layers to it. First of all, most of us walk around in our adult life with our childhood tool belt, which means we learn coping mechanisms as children in our own lives. Whether it's our parents are fighting in the other room, and we learn how to survive that chaos in our household, or there's alcohol in the house, or whatever it is. Whatever is going on in our lives as children, we learn to cope. Some of us learn to be funny and, break the tension. Some of us learn to get attention or act out in certain ways. And we don't identify it when we grow up, but we literally are equipping ourselves with tools for survival at like 8 years old.
And not healthy ones.
Yeah, and now you're in your 40s and you're in a relationship, and you are unwittingly, when something comes up, reaching for those tools. Like, oh, I'm going to use this little plastic hammer and try to hammer this screw into an electric socket where it doesn't belong, because I'm literally resorting to the tool belt that's gotten me through my entire life. But now, when you're in the most personal relationship, it's when your vulnerabilities are at their greatest, right? So you're opening your heart to someone and your life to someone in a way that is going to expose all vulnerabilities That's very scary, especially if you've had trauma in your life, or, you come from a family with a divorce history or any kind of history that's traumatic for you, or past relationships. When you're going into these relationships, we're all on guard, right? So we start reacting by doing these really immature things that we think they're mature now because we're not doing it the same way, but in actuality, it's just an extension of what we learned. So example, when we started dating.
Is this the example?
Yeah, Jenny came on tour, and she was on tour hanging out in a green room while I was on tour with my band. And I walked into the room.
This is a good one.
And she's on her laptop. And she went, "Oh, hey," and closed the laptop. And I'm like, what kind of shady business is this? Like, what you got to hide from me? First of all, we're just dating. And it was like, we cared about each other a lot, but I was like, oh, that just was a red flag. I'm like, this is really uncomfortable for me. And, what ended up happening, because we were doing the work and trying to be very transparent with each other, eventually we had to talk about it. And I was like,
he would walk into the room, and I would literally, I'm going to show you an example. He would walk in, and I'd go, "Hi."
Yeah. And I would think she's texting with someone or doing
Talking
something.
to a boy.
Right?
Yeah.
So now I'm feeling something because someone in my past did something similar. And I didn't realize she was doing that because someone in her past wouldn't allow her to do that. She couldn't be on the phone. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I can give you an example of what happened.
She had to give the attention.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was in a relationship that was, I would say, borderline abusive. And when I would walk in the door, he would make me put my phone in a phone casket by the front door. So all of my attention,
Stop it.
Yep, would be like this on him the rest of the evening until I left the house again. I literally couldn't. Now, mind you, this is when like Twitter just came about and all these kinds of things. So I was like, oh, I need to get online. So I would be in the bathroom, or if I didn't know he was home yet, I would be on my phone, and I had to hide that phone so fast from him that I was like,
right.
I would literally have PTSD. So now moving into this relationship with him, it was a automatic behavior of like, right. I'm going to get in trouble. My phone's going to go in the phone casket.
And I would automatically shut down when she put her phone away. I'd be like, something shady's happening.
He's like, she's cheating on me.
So my default was to go quiet, right? Now, a lot of guys go quiet. But I realized one day that my going quiet was a learned behavior from my childhood. Like, that's what I would do. When my parents would fight and have this explosive fight, and there were 9 kids in the house, and I was one of the babies trying to get some attention or trying to make them make peace, I would just go sulk in the other room till one of them said, "Where's Donnie been for the last 9 hours? We better go find him." And then they'd come in and go, oh, hugs, hugs, hugs. So I would still do that as an adult. And I wouldn't think, oh, that's me acting like I did as a child, but it is. Because it worked. So when I sulked in the other room, my mom would eventually come and make me feel better. And now I'm waiting for my adult girlfriend to come do it, because 2 things are happening. I'm afraid of her closing the laptop because I think something nefarious is happening. She's closing the laptop because she's afraid of how I'm going to react to it. And so we're both at this impasse until we talked about it and learned what each other was dealing with. And suddenly that bonded us so close because we worked on it. We worked on, hey, this is bothering me. When you do this, I'm really having some trust issues. And she was saying, well, I was working on your birthday party, if you really want to know, and here's why I close it, because this happened in my life. So,
but that takes real self-awareness to be able to look at yourself like that. And do you think, when did you start doing this? In your 40s, right? I mean, it's quite hard for people to look at themselves. You were in one of the biggest boy bands, traveling the world. Are you really going to therapy to look into your childhood at that stage of your life? Probably not, right? So it's quite hard. I mean, I'm assuming you didn't have time. And most of us, I started therapy I went to a few sessions. I haven't had chance to do that, but it was very I learned a lot about myself too, because I went to boarding school from the age of 6 and I came out at 18. So I lived in boot camp. I came home twice a year. I grew up, in a very weird way. So, that impacts all my relationships. But again, that's not something I ever looked at or would have looked at in my early 30s or 20s with a new boyfriend. I don't think you have that self-awareness.
Go ahead, please.
No, please.
No, I think relationships, if you want to make a relationship work, and if you want to really grow and feel and sort of find peace in yourself and happiness, no one else can bring that to you. You have to find it within yourself. So I became capable of being the person that she deserves, and she would say vice versa for me, by working on myself. It's sort of like the oxygen mask on an airplane. We talk about this a lot, but it's a really crazy thing when you're flying on an airplane the first time and they say, if you have children, put your mask on first before you put on theirs. It's like, what? I always put my children first. Well, you can't help them if you can't breathe, right? Yeah. So in the relationship, yes, we can go to therapy and work together, right, on how we approach things and how we communicate and do certain things. But if we each don't individually work on our struggles, our, life experience, the things that have impacted us, then we're not building the foundation on, she's a pillar of this foundation and I'm a pillar of it. But if one of us hasn't solidified ourselves, right, we can build the house together as much as we want, but one of us is still still not holding up our part of the foundation. So we each had to individually work
on ourselves
and collectively work.
I will say one of the most beautiful things is learning self-love and, watching him fall more in love with himself, healing himself, falling in love with himself. He was able to love me more. And, there's a lot of spiritual teachers that talk about, like, you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. There's nothing more true than that. It's kind of like, there's another quote, like, love yourself, love what you see. Hate yourself, hate what you see. And that goes the same with, like, why people attack people on social media. Because I always taught my son, haters like to spread their yuckies onto people. Because you haven't worked on yourself.
Misery loves
yourself,
company.
yeah. But when you love yourself, you're then capable of loving those around you. Mm-hmm. It's just a reflection.
And that honestly goes full circle to where we started this conversation. It's like, we're not lover haters. We're lover lovers. Like, we love seeing happy relationships because we love our relationship. We love what we have. So of course we root for people, and we don't control any of those relationships. So whatever happens, it's beyond our control. But we encourage people, to try to work things out, and we love to see successful couples because it's what we are. We feel we love that.
And sidebar, sorry we're talking so much, but sidebar, one thing we did learn along the way, and you guys, this is a really good tool to know, is that makeup sex is actually kind of like toxic.
The best.
I know, see?
It's exciting.
Oh, toxic.
It's
It is
exciting.
toxic.
I love it.
And I'll tell you why. Because yes, it's exciting. You're just like invigorated and you just want to tear each other apart. The problem is, and we came to this realization too, which is your body gets used to it. You start to crave somewhat a fight because of that makeup sex being so heightened. And once you stopped rewarding, like, you have to make up, discuss the issue, clear it, and then make love. And it has changed the relation. It's so much healthier. And people might be like, that's boring. Well, you won't know until you try it, because there's the level of just like fucking, or making love. And, as you know, fucking can get old.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah, but making love, you feel that next level. And that's what I was like, we got to make sure that we talk it out, clear it before we do it.
Yeah, no makeup sex is a good rule to have.
It is.
And it will discourage fighting as well. Because if you have a fight, it's like
no sex.
We don't clear it and then like, all right, we cleared it, let's go have sex.
No.
It's like, no. Let's give it a day or two. Let's continue reconnecting with each other on a personal and spiritual level, and then we'll get to that later.
It does help make fighting lessen.
Yeah, because it's like listen, we don't want to fight anyway. We've dealt with fights our whole lives, right? We come from, tough childhoods and despite our success at an early age, we overcame a lot, each of us individually. And, the ride is really sweet, and we want to protect it and nurture it. And it's scary sometimes when you've been in volatile relationships, including your childhood, family relationships, right? It's scary, I think, for people to embrace peace and happiness. It's almost like it doesn't feel real if you don't have that chaos, if you don't have those fights and that turbulence.
You become addicted to drama.
Yeah, because we've grown up with drama, so it's like there's nothing better than making up. I mean, you're not wrong. Makeup sex is phenomenal, but there's a place there's a place that we made a decision to try to get to, which is to experience peaceful, loving, no fighting, no drama, and feel what that level of intimacy feels like. And I can tell you, it far surpasses makeup sex.
Look, I'm not a big fighter either. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
I don't believe if you're unhappy behind closed doors, and you shouldn't be there anyway. I'm divorced, and this is my second relationship. And I think the second time round we choose much better because we know who we are. I was 43 when I met Sergio. But how did you guys meet exactly?
I mean, it's kind of a really cute story. So the very, very, very first time we crossed paths, I was hosting New Year's Eve in Times Square with Ryan Seacrest. I did it for about 10 years. My very first year, New Kids on the Block happened to be performing. So while I was doing my camera throw, I heard, "Hey, Jenny McCarthy." And I looked, I go, "Hey, Donnie Wahlberg." And it was from a distance, and that was it.
No way.
Then we were on Andy Cohen. We were on Watch What Happens Live. He was the guest with me, and I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you, in person." And the whole show, there was major chemistry going on, but for me, not sexually, because I thought he was married. Like, I thought for sure this guy was a catch. Like, there's no way he's not married.
And that's what I thought about her. I was like, she got a guy.
So even after the show, you can hear me go at the credits. I go, "You're a really nice guy." Like, I was really moved by how sweet he was. And then Andy said to him after the show,
"You should ask her out." And I had made a point when I found out she was the other guest. I said, "All right, well, she probably has guys hitting on her all the time. She probably does interviews like this, and the guys are making like unnecessary remarks or being overly flirtatious." And I'm a Leo. I'm a big flirt anyway. So I was like, "Don't do it. Don't flirt with her. Don't make her feel uncomfortable. Like, just be a gentleman." And
he left.
And because there's drinks at the show. They're giving you shot skis and all this stuff. So
I've done it a few times.
Yeah, and I just made a point to be a gentleman and don't be the typical guy she probably runs into, but not with an ulterior motive. I didn't do it thinking I'm going to marry her one day. I just did it just to be a gentleman.
And then 6 months later, I was hosting my own talk show on VH1, and I looked on my grid, and it's like, Donnie Wahlberg is, the guest next week. So I started doing my homework on Donnie Wahlberg, and I'm looking at him like, who's he with? Because I have to ask him about that. And I'm like, Mom, he's not with anybody right now. I thought he was married before. And just not thinking anything, just like another guest is coming through. I walk past the dressing room on the way to the set, and I see him looking at his butt in the mirror.
I was trying on my suit, but I do got a nice butt. It is a nice butt.
And I was like, "Oh, he's got a nice butt." And then I kept walking, and then he sat down for the interview, and immediately when he started talking to me, I was like, he is really smart. And then he made me laugh so much, I was like, God, he's really funny. I'm like, and then I watched a scene from his show, and I'm like, God, he's really talented. Like, he was checking all these boxes that I noticed myself going like, I really dig this guy. Now, our interview was supposed to be 6 minutes. It turned out to be 90 minutes. I wouldn't let him go.
Oh, wow.
And my producers and my studio audience were like, and I was like, I can't, I am so now attracted to this guy. I almost kiss him. Like, watching the interview back is phenomenal because I literally almost lean in and kiss him. Now, I'm not one of those girls that likes to like flirt for real. Like, I'll do it for show. I was really into him, so much so that I got so shy when we yelled cut and the show was over. I literally like ran to my dressing room and was like, oh my God, my face is red. Oh my God, I love this guy. I just met my husband. I'm freaking out. Oh my God. So I didn't know what to do, so I asked my assistant.
Did you really say that?
Yeah.
I just met my husband.
I did. I said just my husband. So
I said the same.
You did? See,
yes.
When you know, you know.
Yeah, you know.
So I told my assistant, I said, go and give him my phone number, because I've never given I don't give a guy my number. Like, I'm not the first one to give my number. So it was very awkward. I didn't know what to do. Like, what if you turn it down? I'd rather just give it to the assistant. So she goes over there, gives the number. And now I don't want to leave the dressing room until he leaves, because I'm flush red. I'm pacing in my dressing room going like, oh my God, I feel like a 12-year-old girl. I don't know what to do. I'm having a total crush and I'm freaking out. And I just want him to call me later when I calm down. So an hour goes by and he still has not left his dressing room.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Because her assistant gave the phone number to my assistant. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to wait and talk to her.
And see if she really actually
likes
it.
I don't do this assistant phone number thing. So I was waiting, just lingering around, waiting so I could say goodnight and just get a temperature check to see how legitimate the phone number exchange was. So do you want to tell what happened next, or you want me to tell?
You can go there.
So I'm standing.
That's amazing.
I'm standing outside the dressing room, loitering, waiting for her. And finally she comes out of her room and I go, hey, and she goes, hey, good night. And she did that and walked away. And I was like,
no way.
I just didn't read the room right. I was like, all right, well, I ain't calling her. I mean, she just kind of gave me the brush off. Cut to,
now I can continue.
oh, I got to tell about the commercial.
Okay.
So two weeks later, I see a commercial for her television show.
Yeah.
And
we had a medium on, a psychic medium.
yeah. And so I see the commercial, and this is how you just know the stars are all aligned, because I see it, and it's a promo, and it says, this week on the Jenny McCarthy Show, psychic Thomas John. And it cuts to a clip, and Jenny says, am I going to fall in love this year? And he goes, yes, you are. And she goes, is his name Donnie Wahlberg? And it cut, Friday, Jenny McCarthy, 10 o'clock. And I was like, oh, she must have meant it. I think she really meant it. So I said, assistant, where's that phone number? Give me that phone number.
Okay, so now I get a text message, and it was day 13. And I said to myself, if I get to date 14, he's not interested, he's dating somebody, or he's gay, because my ego couldn't handle any other thing than that.
Obviously.
So I'm like, I don't know, day 14, it's over. It's too long and it's rude.
Without me calling.
Yes, without him calling. So then I get this text message, and I'm like, oh my God. Then I turn into the little girl again. I'm like, oh my God. So we have our first date, and of course I lean in to kiss him first, and the rest is history. We just were obsessed over each other from that day on.
Yeah. And
You're still obsessed. Look at you.
I know.
Yeah, we are. I remember I went to visit her at the set of her show after our first date, and it was, sometimes we just get in our own heads and we don't have any idea what's going on in someone else's life. And I walked on the set, and the camera guys, the sound guys, the producers, the PA, everybody was like, you made it. And I was like...
Because I come into work every day, and I'd be like this, and they're like, he hasn't called yet? I'm like, no, he hasn't called yet. So I had every crew member just like cheering me on, praying that this man calls me, because I was like... So then when he walked in, they were like, yes!
I couldn't believe it. And I was like, wow, she really did mean it. Like, I had no idea this was all taking place. I had, it just kind of caught me by surprise. And yeah, I just...
Like you weren't thinking stalker.
Yeah. In hindsight, maybe I should have thought that.
God.
But she didn't stalk. She sent out her intention and made it known and spoke it into the universe. And
manifested you.
That's right. And I heard it, and I got the message, and I saw how much she actually was interested when I entered her world. She didn't stalk or send messages or show up at my set or do anything like that. When I finally got the message and entered her world, I saw, like, everybody was like, she's crazy about you. Good luck. I hope it works. She's a great girl. That's what everyone said. And it rung true for me, because that was what Andy said when he said you should ask for her phone number. I didn't just say no. I'm not going to ask for a number. I just assumed, like she assumed, I assumed she had a guy. But Andy said, you should ask for her number. You guys would make a great couple. And she's a really good girl. And I always heard people say that about her after I met her. Like, she's a really good girl. She has this sort of outrageous personality on TV and this and that, but she's a really good girl. And they were all right.
I love that about you, Jenny. I love your personality.
Thank you. I did one stalker thing that I have to admit to, though. I did one
Do
stalker.
I not know about this?
No, you know about this. After the first date, I got his birth date and the time he was born, and then I had my astrologer.
It's not tattooed on you, is it?
No, I had my astrologer. I sat down. I go, okay, I want you to do his chart, and I want you to do a couple's chart because they can do that. And it was absolutely fascinating. She was like, okay.
Oh, every girl does that. I did that too. Every girl does that.
Right? I'm not alone? Okay, good. I don't feel so bad.
You're not alone.
She said to me, she's like, you guys are going to get married. And she literally did it. She's like, the time he would propose would be when Pluto is over this or whatever. And you guys are going to get married probably by next year. And I was like, really? Like, this is date number 2 I'm going on. She's like, it's in the stars. And she said something so beautiful that we even say today. She's like, you guys, your stars shine brighter together. And I love that. And it's so true. Like, we both lift each other up. Even my son says, Mom, you're a totally happier person when Donnie comes home.
You're glowing. You glow. You can see.
Yeah.
You finish each other's sentences. And actually, it's so nice to watch. It's so endearing because, having been in LA a lot myself, this is not common.
No.
And being in the public eye like you are, I mean, both of you are highly, highly well known and obviously successful. And, people don't get behind beautiful people like yourselves. They don't really want people to succeed today. Everyone wants to pull down gorgeous people. So to watch you sort of having built this, it's like a fortress. You can see you've built these mechanisms around you to keep everything else out, and it is noise, it is event, because everything that really matters will be inside your private home. And I think that's what people forget. And to be able to have built that while you are touring on such a stage as you guys were, and you, Jenny, you've a million things that you've done. It's incredible to come out and have, I can't really think of, I'm trying to think of anyone like you guys right now. I can't think of anyone.
I don't know. If we can lead by example, that's great. That's why we're proud to kind of show our love and, not shy to talk about the work that we've done and the methods that we use to get over some bumps and hurdles, because we're not human. We have our moments, but like we said, we've done the work and we continue to do the work.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly when you said, block out the noise, because it's noise. And
it's noise.
We learn that it's noise by working on ourselves, working, on, again, the therapy we did individually, right? I had a lot of healing to do in my life that I wasn't aware of. And I thought, I had a lot of self-love and this and that. And I realized there was so much more. And the more we work on ourselves too, it actually arms us to deal with what's going on with the noise, right? It's like I learned that, hey, when I criticize my partner for this, I'm actually projecting something on them, right? If they say, good morning, but they don't say it like singing a song and throwing flower petals at me, it sounds like, why'd you say it like that? What's up? What did I do wrong, right? It's like, it's a projection, right? If I wake up with not feeling well, I'm going to project not feeling well onto everything in my world.
And hear things that way as well.
That's right. And the noise we start to realize is, well, if I was making the mistake of projecting, and this is what people do is project, well, then you start to really see what a lot of the negative criticism and stuff is. It's like, if you, not that we sit there and read Instagram comments, but if I write a post and someone writes, you guys will last 2 months, whatever the criticism.
You can't take it on board.
Yeah. It's like, but it's actually, it's even deeper than that.
It is.
It's the person making these judgments and criticism is telling you exactly who they are.
Yes.
We until we can see it for what it actually is, we get defensive. It's like, oh, well, we're going to last more than 2 months. That's stupid. And you want to write back a comment. Now, if I were to see a comment like that, which I would just go, oh, that poor guy.
Yeah.
I hope his relationship
He
lasts
must be
more
having
than
a
2
bad,
months.
and he must be having a bad day.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like I say a little silent, hopeful thought for that person to feel a little better, because why you would waste your time worrying about what somebody else, that's a typical reaction. It's like, why are you wasting your time worrying about my life? Worry about your own life. To me, it's even deserves more empathy than that. It's like, oh, you poor guy, you're really going into someone's comments to write miserable things. You must be so unhappy.
Yeah.
I wish you happiness. You know, I silently do it, but it's interesting. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about what the noise actually is and how unimportant it is.
And it goes back to that saying where I say, hate yourself, then you hate what you see. If you love yourself, you love what you see, and that's what you project. We just had a rumor not that long ago, I'd say like maybe a month ago, that there was rumors that going haywire that we were getting divorced. That was one of the funniest things to us ever, because we're obviously, you could see us, we're in it deep, like to death do us part and a billion lifetimes after, you know? So the rumors were going on. I'm like, do you want to address this? He's like, no, we're not going to address it. Why would we? I'm like, you're right. And then eventually, you know, I think I was on a talk show and someone asked us that. I'm like, no, it's not true. But we could have got caught up in that, and instead we just kind of laughed through it.
Let it go. And that's the most important thing, because people can't argue with a wall, can they? And I think if you get defensive and everything else, I never get upset. I hear the most awful things. I mean, I've got a 28-year age gap with my husband. I'm 20 years older, so I pay for him. He's gay, all of these things. So, you know, I just block it all out. I'm like a rhino skin. Nothing gets through. And I don't care, because we are genuinely so happy. And I think people just find it hard because, I mean, with COVID and everything that happened to people, I think, you know, they forgot how to connect with other people. People forgot. They became keyboard warriors, unfortunately. And, you know, even just walking the streets in LA, people don't go out as much, or you don't connect to, the bars aren't hopping anymore, where everyone walks to tables and goes hi, you know, and meets people. That's not happening anymore. So it becomes very hard to have conversations. I'm absolutely loving our conversation. You seem, Donnie, like one of the most well-adjusted boy band members I've ever met in my entire life. You've got such a beautiful soul. It's incredible. I don't know how you've survived so long in that world and come out like that. You have a lot to teach a lot of men, frankly.
Yeah. Well, my dad told me, when I told him I was starting a boy band when I was 14, his exact words were, and he was sitting down having a beer and a cigarette on a summer afternoon, and he said, I said, no, Dad, this band could really be famous one. Of course, there's no band, it's me. And but eventually there would be a band. And I said, Dad, I really, this could be something really cool, and I could become successful doing this. And he said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, if you ever make it big and you change, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I was like, wow, that meant the world to me, right? Because if any of my other brothers said that, he would have smacked them and said, get a job. And to me, that was his way of saying, I actually believe in you, young man, but don't change. And of course, I've changed and grown and evolved, and I like to think changed for the better. We have to change, right? And you know, but I that meant the world to me, that endorsement, and I took it to heart. It's like, you know, don't forget who you are, and don't forget that you come from nothing, and you know, and if you come across people standing outside the studio today, give them time, you know, give them time and give them a photo, you know, give back as much as you can. I think that resonated with me, and sure, I had to do a lot of work on myself over the years, and heal from a lot of trauma in my life. But at the same time, you know, little things like that, those gems that I would get from my dad once a year perhaps, I hold on to those like a life raft.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you know, as I said, you've come out amazingly the other side, and a lot of people don't. And that shows a lot of growth and work. And I really, what is next for the two of you? Jenny, you've got, the Masked Singer is coming out of, this is going to drop, by the way, the same night on the 9th. So,
I'm so glad. So the Masked Singer, we're on our 12th season, and it's been so successful and one of the greatest jobs I've ever had because
it's like the biggest show.
It's the biggest show. And you know what I loved about it and still continue to love about it is the show that's not mean. When so many judge panels are so like cruel and judgy, I can't do that. I don't have that in me. The fact that we can give flowers and compliment the singers, even if they're not that great, they're giving it their best. And I love that about that show. Tonight is going to be a song track of my life. So songs that people are moved to. And I love that the new clues, pay attention, you guys, if you're going to watch, that the clues are sometimes hidden on their outfits. We've got great themes like a Barbie night theme that Ken Jeong does the most amazing opening, like better than any.
I love him.
Opening. It's phenomenal. I know. I love him too. And then the list goes on in terms of leveling up the amount of celebrities that are on this show that are going to be mind-blowing. So you have to watch. And then, of course, I have my beauty company, if I can talk about how proud I am of that.
Yes, you can. Formless Beauty.
Formless Beauty. You're going to have to give me a real address so I can send it to you. I will go to the post office myself, Caroline, but I want to send you my care package.
Oh, you're so lovely.
So
Thank you.
I formed this beauty company out of a need. I have so much shit wrong with me. I have an MTHFR gene mutation, leaky gut, candida, Hashimoto's,
oh my God.
I'm a wreck, okay? And I noticed that so many of my young friends being diagnosed with cancer and a lot of issues. I get skin rashes, allergies, you name it. So I was like, I need clean beauty. And when I started looking into companies, because I just wanted to be a customer, I was floored that most of the companies say clean, but they're really not clean. So I said, screw it, I'm going to make my own company. So I launched about 3 years ago. I'm hands-on. We make it in the United States. I'm literally next to the chemist, beating the shit out of them, making sure every ingredient is pure. Now you might be like, well, how dirty is it? I didn't know that mascara is one of the biggest offenders out there, and it's got endocrine disruptors, hormone disruptors. We know those cause cancer. We are one of the first mascaras. Maybe there's a couple more out there, but not many, that have no hormone disruptors, no aluminum powder, no formaldehyde. Our lip glosses have aloe, chamomile, shea butter. Our cheek blush doesn't have petroleum in them. Our eyeshadow doesn't have talc, which has carcinogenic. So I really care. I mean, Donnie's been watching me put everything I have into it because I care. I feel like capitalism, even though I love it, has gotten, it's starting to play for the dark side, where you have all these shareholders that are like, oh, use the cheaper ingredients so we can make more of a profit. I don't do that at my company. I'm the boss of the company. So I'm like, okay, we're not going to get super duper rich real quick. We're going to barely make our margin, but at least I know I could die someday knowing that I'm on Team Humanity, that I'm giving women exceptional products, because I want it to perform like all the other big brands, but just not have cancer-causing ingredients. So I hope that anyone listening does check out my company, because as Don says, I'm working my balls off to ensure and keep that integrity and the quality as good as possible. And it's called Formless Beauty.
I saw your new is it lip kit? I was looking at the pic. Obviously, I can't get it over here yet, but I'll take it.
We're really close. We're really close to becoming international. So I beg of you guys to follow us on Instagram.
You should get into Sephora here. I'll introduce you. You should get in. You should come over here. They would love you as well.
Well, I would love it. Please set that up, because we will be over next week.
Oh, with pleasure. Okay, if you're serious, I will. After the show.
I'm serious. We've been dying to go to Dubai too. We're like, let's go.
Yes.
We were supposed to go.
It's one of our few bucket list items. So we would love to go and have dinner with you and your hubby. It'll be great.
With pleasure. And I'm dying to try everything, because we get everything last over here. But I will definitely buy all your things, because I was looking at it today, and I like Easy Beauty, and I love your kits. They look so easy for me, because I'm not very good at makeup, so I like anything that's just one fits all.
Totally. I'm a lazy applier myself. I need it to be quick, easy, and clean, but perform like high end. And it is high-end makeup. It's definitely not. My tagline should be, we don't make shit makeup. We make high-end quality makeup.
Oh, I have loved having you both. Donnie, you have been I wasn't meant to have you today, but you have been one of the biggest pleasures. Honestly, I don't interview a lot of men, but it's been so nice to see such a beautiful, happy couple, and a man that's so successful as well, that is so happy to watch his wife shine, because that is also something that is, very, very hard for a lot of men to do, is to watch and share the limelight with their wife. And I can see that you really, really do that for her, which is so special. So I really thank both of you. And if for everybody out there listening, I think, I'm taking away, darling, we're going to couples therapy. He's like, oh my God, it's 10:30 at night. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for everyone for listening to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored with the gorgeous Jenny McCarthy and Donnie Wahlberg.
Thank you. It's been
Don't forget
lovely.
to subscribe.
Absolutely lovely.